Nothing changes.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome into the channel. It's officially March. Today's actually March 2nd, 2021. It's Tuesday. I didn't do a video yesterday, just had a lot going on, so apologize for that. But let's talk about what has been the most important topic since Saturday/Sunday. And that's, of course, the third stimulus check, $1,400 stimulus check, passing the House of Representatives early Saturday, kind of like overnight. They did like some midnight, 1 a.m. Vote on this, and it passed the House of Representatives. So what does that mean? Let's just do a recap if those of you that don't remember or haven't been able to keep track of this, because it's out of control really. But back in March, April of 2020, when the initial pandemic began, stimulus checks were sent out. I believe they were $1,200 for single people, $2,400 for two people that earned under 75 grand, under 150,000 as a married couple. You got extra money for kids, etc. So that was number one. Most, if not all of you, received that last year sometime over the spring, summertime. If you made more money than that, then you didn't get one. Then at the beginning of this year, a emergency 600 was sent out. Those were approved, I believe, in late December, and people, or maybe the first week of January, and people started getting those all throughout January. Again, I don't know when they started. I don't get any of these checks, but I know a lot of people messaged me and said that they did. So that was number two. That was 600. They initially wanted 2,000, and the third one, which is the one right now that just passed the House, is 1,400, which combined would make this year's $2,000 if you get the full amount. So the threshold is, again, $75,000 as an individual, $150,000 in income as a married couple filing together. So if you're under those, you'll get the amounts. There's also more money for kids, and part of this bill will extend or provide $300 or $400 for unemployment. So that's what this bill is that passed the House of Representatives. Now, the next step is that this week, sometime around, tomorrow's the 3rd, so maybe like the 4th or 5th, Thursday or Friday, the Senate, the U.S. Senate is going to vote. Now, normally it would take a 2/3 majority of the Senate. It's not a 50-50, you win 51, you get it. It's normally 2/3, which there's 100 senators. So you guys can do the math on 2/3. And they don't need that 60, whatever, 60, is it 66 or 65, depending on the breakdown of senators. There's like 2 independents or something. They don't need that. They've done what's called like a bill reconciliation, which I don't understand how it works. It's always been 2/3 for the Senate no matter what. But this time they only need the majority. They only need 50 votes, because obviously the vice president would make a tie-breaking vote and they would vote for it. So it looks like it will pass the Senate this week by the weekend. And of course, the president is going to sign off on it immediately if it does pass, which would mean by this time next week, by the 9th, or even the 8th, next Monday, this could be a law. It could be good, a bill, and they could start distributing payments by the middle of this month, and people will start getting their $1,400 or $2,800 or even more if you have kids. And so that's where we're at with this third stimulus check. Now, let's bring it all around full circle. Why am I talking to you about this on a thrifting, reselling channel, business channel, investment channel? Who cares about the stimulus, especially considering that I don't get them? What's the point? Well, I get asked in the Facebook group and across social media when people talk about it, 3 really, really big questions. One is if you're getting the money, those of you that get it, what to do with that money. Is it something you should invest in your business, pay off bills, pay your mortgage, buy groceries? We talked about this last year, or the beginning of this year, probably like 2 months ago when the 600 came out, about some good things to do with that money. And since there's going to be a new round, I figured it's a great time to kind of refresh you guys on that. So that's number one question I get, what to do with the money. Number two question is about the unemployment. And if you are getting unemployment versus getting the stimulus, like if you're a reseller, do these unemployment benefits benefit you? I'm going to discuss that too in a second. And the third question I get all the time is if you make over that amount of money and like instead of making 75, let's say you make 85,000, do you get a stimulus? Well, there's an answer to that too. And I just thought a fourth one just came to my mind is about that check being taxable. So let's go down these one at a time, kind of in reverse because it's easier. Is the check taxable? Do you have to report this income on your taxes? So obviously you're going to get this income now, which is part of 2021. But let's move back to last year. Even the money you got in January, the 600 is this year's. Let's say you got 1,200 back in 2020. And you're getting ready to file your taxes now because it's March. It's almost time to have our taxes. The April 15th looks like the deadline still. There won't be a delay that we know of. Do you have to report that 1,200 on your taxes? Well, officially, and again, I'm not a tax CPA, not a license, can't give you financial legal advice, but it is not taxable income. It's not taxable. They're calling it like an advanced tax credit, which I don't even know what that means, but it's not taxable. So if you made $25,000 last year and you got a $1,200 check, everything I understand, you don't have to put down that your income was $26,200. It's still $25,000. CPAs, Mark, Paul, anybody watching this video, please advise on that because I can't give the advice, but everything I've read is that it is not taxable income. So what do you do with it? Honestly, I don't get one, so I haven't looked into it and sat down with a CPA. As far as I know, it has to appear on your taxes somewhere, but it's not taxable income. I wish somebody could answer this question. I would love it down in the comments if somebody could cover that. So that's one big question we get about the taxable. Number two, if you make over the amount of money that is the limit, the 75 or the 150. Well, there are reduced checks. So it's like every $1,000 over the amount that you make is like $100 less. So like if you made 76,000 instead of 75, instead of getting a $1,200 check or 1,400 this time, you would get 1,300. They just drop it 100 all the way up until obviously 1,400 would be equivalent of 14,000. So if you went from 75 to like 89,000, then it would reduce the check down to zero. I think there's some threshold or cutoff where it's just automatically zero, but you can get a $600 or $500. If you're a little bit over, you'll still get a little bit of money. So that is a definite yes. Even though you're over the threshold, you can get a reduced check. So you'll have to look into that. I believe it's $100 less for every 1,000 over the threshold you are until it's zero. Okay, so that's question number two. Great questions, you guys. By the way, everyone wants to know what to do with this money. They really want to know, like, man, Casey, what am I going to do with this money? I'm going to leave that kind of till last because I think that's the most important question, right? Everybody wants to know if it's taxable. Everybody wants to know if you can get a reduced income. And everybody wants to know what to do with the money. But in the middle of that, number three, let's talk about the third question that I get all the time about these stimulus, $1,400, $1,200, $600, whatever amount of government economic stimulus checks that come out. All right, so number three is kind of the complicated one. It has to do with unemployment, stimulus, and being self-employed. So I, again, am not a licensed CPA tax accountant, but you are allowed under certain circumstances to file for unemployment, which this stimulus package is going to provide more of while you are a reseller. So let me give you a couple examples that would make sense in my head. And again, take this up with your tax accountant and CPA. Always, and any CPAs or accountants, feel free to comment below. Let's say that prior to the pandemic, you worked a job that paid you $3,000 a month. And let's say that you were a reseller, you have, a second job that made $3,000 a month as well. You depend on both of those incomes to pay your bills. If your regular job fired you or laid you off or furloughed you or whatever because they couldn't be open because of the pandemic and you lost half of your income, you can't survive on just the reselling income and you would be entitled to some form of unemployment because it's not your fault that your business or your job, was closed. Now, if you were working a job part-time, making like $1,000 a month, just here and there, and you were reselling for say $5,000 or $6,000 a month, almost your full-time business, and you lost this little bit of income, you're not really relying on it, it's just extra, that would kind of be a gray area where filing for unemployment may not be okay. Again, you'd have to talk. State by state, it's different. I don't know what it's like in Texas. I live in Florida. I don't know. I've never filed for unemployment. I have always ran my own business and I've never lost a job, and I don't have a job now that would require me to file for unemployment. My business is self-sustaining. If my business goes down in revenue or money and I'm not making anything, there were plans and bills that came out like the EIDL, the Economic Disaster Loan, there's the Payroll Protection Program, there are, PPP, there are programs for business owners like me that rely on this if our income goes down. Now, with that being said, you will have to do this on your situation. The unemployment, if it qualifies for you, you can still work a job, because some people might say if you lose your job and you're getting unemployment and then you start making money reselling, you're no longer unemployed, you're working, you're not entitled to those funds. But if you're relying on all of that combined income, then yes, it could be something that you are entitled to. So please check with your accountant and CPA. This is all going to be based off of 2020 taxes that you filed last year, which is actually 2019's income that you filed in 2020. This year, if you haven't filed your taxes yet, that's okay. They will go off for stimulus as well. The money, they'll go off of that previous year. So 2020's taxes, which was reporting your 2019 income. If you did file your taxes already this year in January or February, or you get it done here in March in the first week or two before all this comes out, then obviously they'll go off of the new updated income. So they want to see those numbers. Okay, so that's number 3. Number 4, what do you do with the money? Cash windfall, right? $2,400, $2,800, $3,000 with kids, $4,000, I don't know. However much it is, you're getting some unemployment, you're doing this. Well, first and foremost is make sure your bills are paid that you have to have paid. Make sure that you have a house and a roof over your head and the electric and the water and what you need to survive, groceries. That's all got to be a part of your plan to take care of yourself, take care of your family. But the next thing that you need to do, so there's 3 really good options to use this money for. And option number 1 is not buying GameStop on Robinhood. Please don't invest your spare money into stocks or a risky investment or MLM or anything that is not a guaranteed or at least close to guaranteed income source, because you only do stuff like that with money you can afford to lose. And if this stimulus is coming to you to keep you on your feet, you probably can't afford to lose it, right? You need it to do something with. Okay, so number 1 is buying inventory. Obviously, if you know that every time you buy inventory, you flip it, you make money, you're good at what you're doing, you know what you're doing, and it's just a matter of getting the inventory and getting it in and getting it sold, it's never a bad idea to go spend $1,000 on inventory that you could sell over the course of a couple months for $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. You have created a stream of income that might, if it makes you $3,000 of profit, over 3 months, it's $1,000 a month stream of income. You've taken the government's money and you've tripled it. So that's never a bad idea. That's number 1. Number 2 is paying off high interest credit cards or loans, or even if you're close to paying off a car with interest, it's never a bad idea to take $1,400, pay off that credit card that might end up costing you $18 or $19 or $2,000 over the next few months or 6 months, because you've saved yourself $600, $800. You've taken 14 and turned it into 2. It's not as good of a return on the investment as the buying inventory and selling, but that's why that's a business, and paying off credit cards and whatnot are just kind of a luxury type thing that, yeah, you can keep making the minimum payment, but if you want to save money in the long run, that $1,400 payoff could be a savings. So that's number 2. The number 3 thing, and this is what a lot of people are going to do with it, I always say pay the bills you have to pay, get caught up on bills first, but a lot of people are going to say, what about using the money to keep in the bank and just have? That's great. The problem is when you use it, it's gone. You haven't turned money into money, and wealthy, successful people, and even people that find a way to manage and survive, make money work for them. The old saying, it takes money to make money. It doesn't matter if it takes a few $100s to make a few hundred, or a couple thousand to make a couple thousand, or $1 million to make 10 million. Money makes money if you put it to work, and it can't make money if you don't put it to work. I watch Shark Tank a lot, and Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful on there, always says he treats his money like a small army, little soldiers that he sends out in the morning to go do work, and then when they do work, they gotta come back and recruit more little soldiers and come back with a bigger army of soldiers or a bigger pile of money. And so that's what you have to do. You have to put your money to work. And if you don't, that $1,400 is only gonna be $1,400, period. So you really have to do something. And if you do put the money to work in inventory and you do buy stuff to flip, do the work and get it done. The quicker you get it sold, the quicker you can get that $1,400 back. You have your $1,400 back in the bank to use again if you need, or in an emergency, and you have some inventory which can produce more cash for you. So make sure you use it. Don't just go out and spend a bunch of stuff, pile it all high, and then feel good about yourself, because now all you've done is create a pile of inventory. You don't have your $1,400 anymore, and you're back right where you started. If you are in a desperate situation where $1,400 is making the difference in eating, drinking, paying the electric, paying the water, because $1,400 goes fast. If you're a family and you're getting $28,000, $3,000, that's great, but $1,400 for most people only pays a month of rent or maybe 2 months in some places. It's only going to pay, if you're talking about a couple $100 a month for groceries, couple hundred for electric and water and utilities, all of a sudden 1 month of all those bills and groceries can be $600, $700, $800. Now you've only got 2 months of payments for those. So it's going to go fast, and you've got to work and make sure in your head you have that 30-day turnover. You're going to spend $1,400 and within 30 days start having that money coming back in. Always work fast. Work like it's never going to be there. Work like you're not going to get it again, and take the opportunity, the best of this opportunity. Once the government gives you the money, they can't tell you really what you can do with it. It's stimulus, which means you can spend it on big screen TV, or you can spend it on inventory, or spend it on bills. It's to stimulate the economy. Please don't spend it on big screen TVs if you're desperate. Also, if you're that low on income and that stretched out, on top of the $1,400 in the inventory, please go around every death pile you have, every inventory, things you don't use personally, everything that you have, and sell it. Every person on average has between $400 and $600 just laying around their house that they could sell on Craigslist, Facebook, Marketplace, eBay, wherever. So that's another $400 to $600. If you're bringing in $1,400 or $2,800, all of a sudden you could have $2,000, $3,000, and that could change a lot of people's businesses and lives. So take advantage of it and make the most of it, but just know you're on about a 30 to 60 day time clock, a deadline with how fast that money goes out the door. For some of you, a month. So when you decide to use it, make sure you're prepared to get to work and turn that money into more money. Okay, so that's the third round stimulus. That is my advice for resellers, small business owners, even families or people that don't do anything else. Put the money to work. Make sure it does something, but don't go buy GameStop stock with it. Guys, it's just a waste. Trust me. You could make money on it. You could lose it all. So don't do something risky until you're in a position to be able to lose the money, which you're not right now if you're that worried about it. Okay, I'm going to leave you guys from Florida with that. It's 80 degrees. I am sweating. It is hot outside. There you guys go. Welcome to Orlando again for 2 more months. Appreciate you guys watching. Hit that thumbs up. Make sure you turn the thumb down there blue and hit that subscribe button with the notifications on. You won't miss any more of these great advice videos, reselling, business, finance, flipping, you name it. We talk about it here, and I want you guys to be a part of it and join me. So until next time, have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you then.